once again, thank you for joining us. And today we're going to be talking about the 2020 trends, emerging tech driving efficiency and growth. Before I do that, just to make you aware that all your microphones have been muted. If you do have a question though, we want you to get involved and ask whatever questions do come up. Then please use the chat function. I'm sure everyone is an expert on Zoom nowadays, so there's a chat function at the bottom, and you can either send it through to me or to Lisa, who is the co-host of this webinar today. And we'll answer questions as we get an opportunity to, or if it's relevant of the that we're discussing. So without further ado, let's talk about this webinar. It started off by commissioning a report. This went out to over 1,500 managers, mid-sized, and these are somewhere between 100 and maybe 500 or 600 mark. We wanted to understand the challenges they were facing. As a company, we were pre-building company, and majority of we work with a larger firm, so we were really keen to understand what the mid-sized market were interested in. The survey's got lots of results, a lot of which surprised us, and I'm going to be talking about just a couple of them in a few moments' time. But also why you should be looking at mobile, and the results are interesting to give you an insight into where it could fit into your tech stack. The full report is available, so if you do have questions and you would like to see the full report, then please just give me an email, or you can email sales@fliplet.com, and we'll get a copy of the full report out to you. So who have we got speaking today? So you've got the benefit of me. I'm Mike Gallup. I'm the commercial director here. Not only am I going to give you an insight into some of the highlights of the report, I'm also going to share with you a case study around Eversheds Sutherland. Now, this is obviously a very large firm, but I've done some really interesting use cases, kind of ranging from internal to client-facing solutions. So I thought showing you a few examples of applications may whet your appetite for how it could work for your firm. At the end, I'm also going to give you a demo of a BD proposal app, and this kind of links into the results that we got from the survey. We're also lucky enough to have Viv Williams from Symphony Legal. He's going to be talking about digital transformation, lots on cost savings and efficiency. A very experienced guy, and I'll introduce you to Viv in just a few moments' time. So the Future of Legal Technology report. As I say, this was run over June and July, so it's very, very recent. And some of the stats that came out of it look like this. So over 40% of the managing partners that responded said that BD had been underperforming while working from home. Now that's a very large number. Of course, lots of obstacles, lots of challenge getting people working remotely, having the right levels of access. So it has been a very, very challenging time. But we were to ask the question as to why do you think they've been underperforming? And again, the results showed that over 40% of their partners said it was to a lack of digital tools. So they have invested in tools that will work on different devices, on tools that were available maybe in the cloud. But that was two very big numbers based on the survey results. So in order, the three challenges that they saw coming up, because this is kind of now well into COVID time. So what are the main challenges? One, remote working. I literally just had to close the door here because my son came running in. Remote working is one of the biggest challenges. So how do we make people effective? How do we enable them to be just as effective, if not more, because they don't have to do the travel. They shouldn't be restricted by the technology that they've got. You've also got clients. Now they're becoming more and more demanding. It isn't just law firms that are working from home. All of your clients potentially are working from home. They're becoming more and more demanding as well. They're looking for solutions. They can't just pop into your office. You can't pop into their office. So what tools are they looking for in order to be able to carry on working as they do? And lastly, is that new business part. So a lot of managing partners are really focusing on where are we going to get this from. There could be a large recession coming. Let's hope not, but they could. How do we differentiate ourselves? How do we ensure that we survive this period? And the answers that they came up with, they said that they're going to be looking for improved communication tools and processes, not just internally, but also with clients. So they're also looking at the technology, again, enabling new products and service launches. They can't just rely on that face-to-face that they always used to rely on. So a number there. Hopefully that's just giving you a little insight into some of the survey responses that came through. And there's lots more in the report if you would like a copy of it. Now, a lot of that technology and communications, an obvious solution is having that on your mobile phone. So apps are in everyone's life right now. 3 years ago, there was over 178 billion of them in the App Store. And that's a huge, huge number. But in another 2 years' time, there's going to be about 260 billion apps. Now, I would agree that the majority of these are going to be for the consumer life. They're going to be for games and personal financing, things like that. But when you look at companies like this, they all have something in common. More and more firms, the consumer world tends to lead the business world. Each one of these, Microsoft has had Power Apps for many years now. Very powerful tool that takes Excel information on an Excel spreadsheet and quickly makes it available onto an app. Google just this year, it was January this year that they bought AppSheet. AppSheet is a low-code or no-code app development platform for businesses. So again, it does similar to Power Apps. It takes information from a spreadsheet and renders it into a nice looking app for your phone. And Amazon just last month launched Honeycode, again, a low-code platform for building enterprise apps. So with all of these should be giving you a really clear indication as to what the future looks like. Now, we're obviously in a similar marketplace, but we are very different to the solutions that you can see on the screen as well. Fliplet is a prefab app development platform. What does that mean? It basically means that we're no-code solution, but we're also open source. That means that you can use 90% of your app can be built just by using our drag and drop platform. But being open source, it means that you can get into the underlying code and you can build on top. It makes us very extensible. We work with over 50 law firms, and we also work with the likes of Deloitte and Accenture. So we're well versed in enterprise and we can cater for all of your security needs. The great news is everything that's built on Fliplet works on every device. So this isn't just about mobile apps. This is about apps for tablets, which is becoming more and more popular, but also apps for your desktop. And more on that as we get through this demo. But I think that's probably enough from me. Let's have a look at, or let's introduce Viv now, who is going to talk to you about digital transformation. Viv, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, thank you. So hello to everyone, and it's been fascinating to work with Fliplet and see how it's evolving. And I've even tried to build my apps myself for me. So it's been an interesting journey. So I've been working with law firms, the good, the bad, and the ugly since 1999, so for 20 years, helping law firms to restructure themselves, looking at ways and means of making them more profitable, moving them to different regulators, different world. And it's happening now by converting law firms into virtual meetings rather than doing it. I've been non-exec director of 7 law firms. I'm currently non-exec of 4. And I'm chairman of a law firm specialising in the acquisition of PI, personal injury in the market. So I've been lots and lots of mergers and acquisitions. I've done over 150 in the last few years. A lot of them bank driven, so all of them distressed. And I've been helping lawyers to understand what they've got in terms of marketing. And as I start to talk about the marketplace, it's very interesting to see how it's changed more rapidly in the last 4 months than it has done in the last 40 years. And I've obviously done lots of seminars, lots of public speaking, and I've written 2 books on law firm management, which quite frankly was a fascinating experience, writing books on how you should manage your law firm. As a non-lawyer, it's been a very interesting journey. The current challenges have been coming for a long time. The legal profession has been finding it very difficult to change because invariably we've had a profession that's been steeped in tradition. Up until 2007, you weren't allowed in the UK to be anything other than a partnership. So change has been coming extremely slowly, but I think the impact on change has happened more rapidly post-COVID. And the real difficulty has been many firms just don't understand what to do and where to go. I'm having conversations every day about the way that the impact of what's happening with COVID. And at the moment, we're in the eye of the storm. We have loads of firms who've got loads of cash because they've had their C-bills loans or bounce back loans, they've furloughed their staff, their offices are closed. And what they're doing is now starting to think, what happens as we come out of this the other side? We're certainly seeing reduced turnover, not in certain sectors. We saw a surge in the early days in wills and lasting powers of attorney, resulting eventually in probate work. And we've seen the kickback since March of the delay with conveyancing transactions, and they've boomed in the last couple of months. But the question is it going to last? Following furlough invariably will mean redundancy. We've already seen in the press that some of the larger practices are taking that step already. I think we will see a massive amount of redundancies within the legal profession, because what we've been able to do is to change with remote working the way we trust our staff. And I think lots of managing partners have had this conversation with me and said, we didn't believe we could trust our staff to work from home, but if we've got a robust IT platform and it's enabled them to do so, we actually trust them. The fact remains we will never go back to where we were. This life has changed forever. It's not going to go forward in the way that we thought it might. So the change in trust is quite evident, and the reduction in the requirement for office space is going to be quite, I think, severe. And what we're seeing now are conversations with landlords about converting office space into retail as well as residential. So we're starting to see the whole market change. We've also seen a significant increase in the professional indemnity market, with predictions of anywhere up to 20% increase in the market value, because insurers have left. And what we're starting to see is that the financial stability is being questioned about law firms, because they may have a C-bills loan, but there will be trigger points along the way. It could well be that PII is the key. Many firms may not be able to fund their PI premiums because of their financial stability or instability, as the case may be. And I think, whatever Mike was saying, I think we're heading for a very deep recession. We've heard the VU or the Victorian Bath recession, where we went in extremely fast, but we're going to come out incredibly slowly. And that, in many respects, means that we'll have to face these for a long time to come. So the cultural changes, which we're starting to see, is most firms I'm talking to are planning their strategy now. Do we need the amount of people? One particular firm I was talking to, they had virtually a secretary for every fee earner. And once they went to put those secretaries on furlough, they found that their fee earners working from home don't need the support and help of a secretary for each. So those days have changed. And I think the relationship with clients has changed even more. Whereas we would normally say to a client, we have a 20-page document to go through, we'd like you to come into the office at 2 o'clock on Thursday. The client has taken control. The client is now saying, I'll meet you on Zoom at 7 o'clock in the evening. That relationship will never change back to where it was. The Gazette, Law Society Gazette, is talking about large numbers of failures, and particularly on the high street. So it may not impact on all of us, but we're talking about potentially 70% of law firms failing, merging, or going out of business in some way. So what I'm encouraging people to do, apart from the obviously moving into technology, is to examine every single department they have, look carefully at how your profitability is on each sector within that department. And if some sectors aren't working, then you may have to close them. And that will change the way you view your office space and how much you need. And I think we will see a vast reduction in both fee earners and staffing levels. We've already seen lots and lots of people in senior roles, chief execs, HR directors, marketing directors, business directors, being made redundant first. They've happened in the last month or two. It's a complete change of culture. So the legal profession, steeped in tradition, is now moving into a different world that we haven't seen before. So what do we need? Where do we start? Well, we start off with a managing partner showing and defining strong leadership. Where are we going? What are we going to do? We're going to take tough decisions. We have to actually make those decisions now and deal with the furloughing into redundancy. And then I understand with lots of firms that talk about the regulatory mapping of their practice. Most firms are only regulated for probably 30% of their turnover. Now you're paying for the cost of regulation through having the entire business regulated by the SRA. But a lot of work that's not regulated, such as admin support, such as HR, such as a marketing business development can be placed in a separate business outside of the main regulated law firm. That means your regulation cost and your PI cost will go down. So we're starting to look at people, we're starting to look at places. Do we need the offices we've got? So creating this business model for each department is absolutely essential. And hence the reduction in costs. I think we're looking at a vast change in a cost reduction exercise that will bring lawyers back into, hopefully, some form of profitability. So we have to prepare for the worst. Without question, it's not going to get any better. So when we move forward, what do we need to do? Well, we need to engage with staff differently. And how do we do that when they're working remotely? Well, hence the advice and guidance about utilizing apps for working with staff and with people and encouraging them. The world has changed significantly in the last 4 months. So I think we will see significant investment in technology and process. I've been involved with an offshoring business for conveyancing process for a number of years now, but I'm starting to see lots and lots of interest in looking at taking process out of the business and moving it forward. So robust IT would be a big investment. And adapting to a new culture will not be easy. Many traditional law firms like the culture that they had in the past, but they're going to have to adapt and deal with clients differently. As I've mentioned, the clients have now taken control and their demands are changing differently. So how are you going to adapt to these demands? How are you going to make it different, to look different across the board? So retaining clients, and if we look at traditional business development, I think that's changing significantly. We have to engage with clients differently from where we are. We have to look what they want and what they want from us and listen to them. So knowing who our clients are and how they want to engage can make such a difference. And that's why we need client-driven communication tools. So we understand what their requirements are, their needs are, and they need to have access remotely, whether it be on a mobile phone or otherwise. And the other part, without question, will be the website traffic. One particular client of mine has been involved with creating sector-specific online events and registration for those events. And the traffic they've generated for their website has been enormous. And it's resulted in work when they're not even in the office. So the opportunity, I think, to change by adapting now and looking at these mobile apps will make such a difference to every law firm throughout the UK and the US. So mobile apps is the way to go. I have no doubt about that.
Thanks, Steve.
Over to you.
Yeah, I mean, that's really interesting. I'm going to pick up on a couple of things there, because as you was going through these slides, it sounded very doom and gloom and very almost kind of managing by metrics. You know, look at this, where can we make cuts, where can we do this? And I was wondering, when are you going to get on to the people that are left? Because, you know, the people that you do keep and the people that are having to, they're also going through this change. And you're right, it's a new culture. So you've got to be harsh over here and make the cuts and make the changes and drill down. But the people that are coming on the journey with you, you've got to understand, how do we help and support them through this period of change? Because their whole world is put upside down as well.
Absolutely. It's not all doom and gloom. I don't want to give that message. What I do think is that the 30% of the legal sector in the UK, which consists of 10,400 law firms, I think 30% will go over the next 12 to 18 months. That's the doom and gloom bit. The exciting bit is they're all doing work. They're all producing turnover and business. Their clients will be swooped up by the more progressive practices who have changed, adapted to these changes, gone for the mobile app and done all the other issues. And those are people who are even talking to me now about growing by acquisition and sweeping up some of these failing firms. They may not want them as part of their future as a merger, but they may buy them as a pre-pack through some of these issues that we've seen where firms have to pay their runoff cover, but they could have a future. Will bank applications, the growth of the individual consultant lawyer working under umbrellas. These are all positive messages. It's not all doom and gloom. I'm not standing with a clipboard on saying the end of the world is nigh for lawyers. I'm not saying that at all. It's the ones who embrace this change now that will see the difference. They're the ones that will come through this profitable and more profitable going forward.
So with a lot of the smaller firms going and you know, the larger firms who may be in a better financial position or be able to make greater cuts to therefore reinvest in different areas, do you think the larger firms are going to pick up lots of this smaller business, or do you think smaller firms will merge together to create a larger organization to try and survive?
trouble is, if you merge two badly run firms together, you just get a bigger badly run firm. And that's what lots of these smaller firms are like. And I'm not being disrespectful to solicitors, quite the contrary. What they have done in many years is they've been educated to run a partnership model where all the profits are taken out of the business. So in other words, up until 2007, you weren't allowed to be anything other than a partnership. When the SRA started, they automatically said, we need to engage with larger incorporated structures, so they've allowed firms to become limited companies. I have used the technique of taking, for example, conveyancing in a law firm out of the main regulated sector and put it into a CLC, Council of Licensed Conveyancers regulated, which is much cheaper regulation. Yet having said that, at the end of June, 12 of their firms couldn't get any insurance cover at all. So they ended up going out of business, and there's no soft landing. They actually have to cease trading immediately. But there is opportunity there to acquire both clients and the business.
Okay, interesting food for thought there. On that note, let's have a look at one of these larger firms. So I'm going to use these guys as a case study. A couple of reasons for doing so. One, they've been a customer of Fliplet for around 3-4 years now. But they're also quite public around the types of applications that they're producing, and they want to be seen as very innovative. They want to be seen, so lots of PR is done. So I'm going to share with you a suite of applications that Eversheds have produced over the last few years. If any of these are of interest, then please do reach out. We can talk in more detail about them. Every one of these apps is either in the public app store, or they've spoke publicly about it and given us permission to talk about these use cases. So let's start off with an internal application. So we're talking about how do firms get more efficient, how do they allocate work more effectively, and make sure that everyone is working at their capacity, and we don't have people standing around without the right amount of work. So previously, Eversheds used to run all of their work allocation via an Excel spreadsheet, believe it or not. So on a Monday morning, someone would input all of the data from all of their fee earners into an Excel spreadsheet and email it out first thing on a Monday morning. That would show how many hours someone worked the previous week and how many hours they've got booked to work for the coming week. Obviously, that spreadsheet was out of date within a couple of hours because more work would come in and it would get allocated out, but the spreadsheet was only updated once a week. So not the most useful document. What they've done is they've replaced that with a work allocation tool. This is now available and used by everyone within Eversheds, every fee earner. They are able to go in and update their own status in terms of hours worked and availability. What it enables the partners to be able to do, that if a piece of work comes in from your client and they need to allocate 2 senior associates to come and work on that new matter, they can now use the app to filter all of the employees down by experience, by department, by location, by whatever they need to. In Eversheds' case, they then color coded each person based on their availability. So if I search for 2 senior associates in London, there might be a list of 20 available. But having them color coded, let's assume it was red, amber, green. Red means I've got no availability. I'm at capacity. Don't even bother contacting me to give me more work. Amber was maybe they had 10 hours available, whereas green was greater than 10 hours. I don't actually know what they chose, but you get the idea. It means that as a partner, I can see at a glance who's got availability, and it's live. It's always up to date. And because it's on their phone, they just needed to click into, in this case, Jane Austin, click on Jane and phone Jane immediately and say, Jane, I can see you've got availability this week. Can you come and work on this matter with me for this client? It's revolutionized the way that they're allocating work now and obviously getting much better efficiencies.
And with remote working, Mike, it means that obviously there's a tremendous tool. I mean, it's fantastic to think that you could actually have these people working remotely from home and then find out what availability they've got to do that work. I think that's a brilliant tool. Yeah,
absolutely. Client helpline. So Eversheds worked as part of a panel of firms for a particular client. They wanted to show, stand out from the rest of the firms on the panel. So they offered to build, they called it a client helpline. We think of it more as a kind of advice request portal. The idea is that the client had one URL, one portal where they logged all of their advice requests. So even if it was for Eversheds Sutherland or company B, C, D, or E, they logged them all in one place. They would simply fill out the advice request, click submit. The technology did the hard work to allocate that work to the relevant law firm. So it's very easy using simple if statements. So if this, then that. If in regards to employment, send to Eversheds. If in regards to tax, send to company B. So it was a real simple. The client absolutely loved it because it was difficult trying to get everyone within the firm who all wanted to ask for support from their legal representative. Which firm are they working with for which aspects of law? By having just one platform, it was simple. Once they'd produced this, and this was only a web app, this wasn't a mobile app, this was a web app, simple URL, they could reproduce it in minutes to give to their next client and their next client and their next client. So it really showed them off as being like, no one else has offered us this. Thank you, Eversheds, for doing so. Portals are quite popular. They've been around for a while, so not only for clients, but also for staff. If there are any people on the call who use things like HiQ, integrating with HiQ is becoming more and more popular as well. The two that I think are most relevant in this day and age is Client Conversations. Now, Client Conversations was an app developed to support BD. Eversheds is a massive firm. There are about 5,500 people. And what they had found is that people sat in silos. So the amount of cross-selling, I know cross-selling isn't the best term for a law firm, but recommendations between departments or between countries or offices or practices wasn't happening as much as they would like. And what they found was that people would just be like, I'm a tax lawyer in London. That's what I know. If a client asks, you know, I want to buy some property in Japan, they didn't know that we had an office in Japan because they was just in their bubble of what was important to them, which was fine. But they wanted to start broadening it. Also, they wanted to support these fee earners. So when they're having a conversation, what are they going to talk about with their client next? If there was nothing massive in their department, what other advice could they give? So they built an app, and this was basically an elevator pitch for everything that Eversheds do. So all of the different practices, it had a directory of all of the different skill sets of partners, of associates. It had all of their technologies. So again, if you're talking to a client and that client's being like, okay, well, look, you know, we're trying to do more. We understand that blockchain's a big thing. What are you guys doing with it? How can we use blockchain? Now, if you was a tax lawyer in London, you might go, I don't know. But now they had an app in the palm of their hand that they could pull out, type in blockchain, and you can say, oh, well, the way we're using it is this. Maybe we could do something for you. Everything was in the palm of the hand of them fee earners to encourage, and the uplifting referrals from existing clients to other parts of the business went up boatloads.
Mike, I'm assuming that mid-sized law firms can do and use these apps themselves and develop them themselves, because one of the biggest criticisms within law firms is that they don't cross-sell between departments. And if you've got multiple sites, it's even worse because they don't know what they're doing. So I think all four of these could be adapted into all sizes of law firms. It doesn't have to be just Eversheds.
No, absolutely. And the way we've developed these, we've developed it so that there's actually, with a lot of them, there's a template. So actually you take the template, you brand it, you add your content in. You don't really need to have any technical knowledge whatsoever. We know that most law firms, IT departments are small. Marketing teams sometimes are even smaller. So it's like, we couldn't possibly use this technology. And it's like, we're showing you exactly how you can get long-term benefit from a very small investment of time. And that will be more evident when I show you the BD tool in just a moment.
Okay.
The one that I think is most relevant now, very soon after lockdown happened, so around March, end of March, Eversheds had an idea, and bearing in mind I've been with us for a while, but I had an idea that they want to build something that was purely there for the wellness and cultural side of their business. They already had tools like Zoom or Slack or Skype or all of these tools to be able to communicate, and email, of course, but it was always regarding business. So I don't know about you, but having a Zoom call out of hours where you're socializing still feels a little bit like work. So when I go and grab a coffee, I don't want to take my laptop with me, and, you know, it's just not right. I want to get away from the desk, but as soon as you walk away from the desk, the one thing you always take with you is your phone. So therefore, they wanted to produce something that supported the well-being and the cultural side of the business. So from idea to launch was 2 weeks. And they launched the Open House app. And there's a full case study on our website if you really want to delve into this. But in essence, it had lots of different sections around best practices for working from home, best practices for homeschooling, about keeping fit, you know, keep mindfulness, all of these types of things. Really interesting. The bit that has exploded and brought together a stronger culture in the business is the furry animals section. So everyone loves looking at furry animals on the internet, of cats and dogs doing silly things. These guys found that they put it in there, just, you know, post a picture of your animals doing whatever. Suddenly you've got, you know, a marketing executive in the London office posting a picture of their chihuahua. And then suddenly you've got a senior partner in the Japan office who's also got a chihuahua, who then posts a picture going, hey, look, your dog does the same as mine. Suddenly these two people that, even though they work for the same organization, may never have interacted, suddenly they've got something in common. And it just grew and grew and grew and grew. And they had something like 1,800 interactions in their first 4 weeks of launching the app. It's been their most successful app to date. And it is supported and encouraged by from the very, very top, and everyone is really using it. So when you was talking about how do we embrace and how do we look after people who are going to continue to work remotely, don't just give them a tool that they use for work and then expect them to use it outside of work. This tool is they can go and grab a coffee, just like they would check, you know, LinkedIn or WhatsApp or whatever, Facebook. Well, now they can check the internal social pages to keep in and keep them relationships that normally were reserved for the cafeteria or the water cooler or whatever. Really, really interesting app. This one I want to put up here just because if anyone that's joined us for this webinar has got their phone on them, if you go into the App Store on your phone and just type in Eversheds, you'll find this app. It's called the Employment and Pensions Guide. The reason I'm telling you to do this is because there's no login, which means you can download the app and you can play with all of the features and see what Eversheds are doing. If you was to replace employment and pensions with another practice area that is relevant to your firm, then you could see whether this type of technology would work for you guys. So in this case, it enables you to drill down into a specific aspect of employment or pension law and then compare it to different jurisdictions and different countries to see how it differs. Now, if you're getting repeat questions from clients asking repeat requests based on the current situation, we get lots at the moment for travel. So can I travel to this country? What are the visas that are needed for here? Can I, I want to recruit people outside of the UK. What are the rules? So being able to allow your clients to self-serve rather than come to you with these low-level kind of, fixed fee things. Can we get more efficient and offer these tools, whether they be free and complimentary or whether they be a paid for service is totally up to you. But go in, have a play, look at what else the app is doing in terms of broadening and cross-selling the other services that the firm has. So it could be a good one for the managing partners to have a look at to see if there's a solution there for them. Good. Okay. So I think now I will just touch base and just ask Lisa, have any questions coming up to date?
Yes, we do have a few questions for Viv we could ask at this point.
Yeah, sure.
Great. So the first one is, Viv, do you think the app market can change the way that legal business works in this new world that we've got?
It certainly contributes, absolutely. I think we have to realize that our clients are more tech savvy now. They want to buy things in different ways. The app market can change the way a law firm operates. I have no doubt about that.
Cool. And then I guess leading on from that one is what sort of apps, I guess maybe some of the ones that Mike has just mentioned, which ones do you think will drive the most value for mid-market firms?
Well, I think there's lots to be said for free economics. So giving things away free engages people earlier. So the fact that Eversheds are giving away employment and pension information, it encourages people because you give something for nothing, they'll come back for more. I think certainly looking at the client relationships and looking at the staff relationship and the idea of, as Mike mentioned, around the water cooler, that makes such a difference where you've got people working remotely. So I think those are short-term solutions. Longer terms, for BD point of view, we need to engage with clients in a very, very different way. So we have to think about giving something for nothing and then getting them to engage on paid services. So I think that will make a big difference to mid-sized firms.
Great, thank you. That's all for now.
Okay. Smashing. So let's have a look at one of the more recent apps that law firms have been using. So this is a pitch or proposal app. I'm not going to go into how it's built and how you can do this yourself. I just want to give you an idea into the way firms are thinking now, because so much is changing, so much more engagement is needed, and analytics and tracking, as you know, everything you do now, there's cookies and cache, and everything is being tracked. Everything you do, you use your phone to search for, you know, a new BMW car, and then you go onto LinkedIn and every advert is BMW cars. It's like, how does it know? Well, of course it knows, everything knows. So if you're not currently using technology that gives you the best insight into your customers as possible, then you could be missing out. So this demo is really designed just to give you an insight into what the new world could look like for you. Now, PDFs have been around for donkey's years. They're super quick and easy to produce. However, as soon as you put a picture or a proposal together by pulling in your one sheets and collating it for a specific client, you then send it to that client as an attachment, you do generally lose track of it. So you can see maybe who's opened the email, but what pages within that PDF were of most interest to that client. Also, if the client requests a change or something slightly differs from your initial proposal, you've got to reproduce the whole thing over and over again. It's also slow because you're having to go backwards and forwards. There's new emails and then trying to track. And if your inbox is anything like mine over the last 4 months, it's kind of doubled because I don't sit opposite people anymore. So everything is now an email or a Zoom call, which takes longer. So in this particular instance, I'm not looking at it, although it would work on a mobile phone, and you may have some clients who would review this on their phone. I'm actually going to be looking at this as though I've sent a URL. A client has asked us to put a proposal together for a piece of work. In this case, it's going to be a Burger Shack. We didn't want to use any well-known frames, but this is ABC Law, and it's a proposal for Burger Shack. So they would click on this URL link, and it would open up this page on their web browser. It would then give you a few screens just to kind of introductory around your firm and our people, just an overview of who we are. And then it would say, great, why don't you log in? So that there's security behind it. Only people that you give access to will be able to, apologies. So now it will take me into login. I've already logged in, so I can skip past that. And then you can have a nice welcome page. So welcome, you know, quick introduction from the managing partner or the senior lead partner in it, a bit of text, and even, you know, a bit of introduction to the people. And I can click in and I can see who this guy is. I can read their details. Once I'm all happy with that, I can have a look at the proposal. This is now going to take me to a few different options that are available around what the firm offers. I'm going to come back to proposal because that's kind of the main point, but I'm going to look at this also adds as a marketing tool. So our key legal services, we can now click in. You can see this is much more interactive, but each one of these could just be a PDF, but there's not any way to track that information. So now the main service that we're looking at is maybe corporate. That's the main one, but of course there'll be some employment. You can make these bigger or smaller depending on the priority for the particular services you're offering to Burger Shack. If I want to look at their corporate offering, I can then click in again, and it was going to go into more detail around that service. So I can view the brochure, I can share it, email it, whatever, more details, and then even just key contacts again of who are the corporate partners involved with this. Maybe there's some recent corporate work where I want to share case studies with that client. And obviously this can be updated very, very quickly. Brochures or white papers on the things that are relevant, as well as recent news articles. So all of that can be put into individual screens for each of your departments that you're talking about. If I go back to home, there's also the key legal services that we're offering to Burger Shack, but there's also, why not include a list of all the other services that you offer, because you never know when that's going to be of interest. It takes up zero room, it's there, and again, it's the same thing. It can be another list. You may want to lay it out differently to as we've done in this demo, but you can see similar kind of thing. there are lots more screens that we're going to include, or you can include, but we've hidden because we want to keep it simple. Again, a lot of today's buyers are about UI, UX. It's about, is it easy to use? Does it tell me what I need? It's not just a long list of text. It's more interactive than that. So in here, you could have a list of the offices that you have. And as you click into each one, again, can give much more detail around what it is. So you could have a map to how to get there, key facts around it, who the key people are within that office. So the practice areas that work really is up to you. Everything is 100% customizable within this app. Before I go on to the proposal, I will just show you that there's 4 main sections here, but if we click on this hamburger menu, you can see there's lots more. So we could have a document library, we could have a news feed coming in, pulling information regarding to corporate information, knowledge and tips. You can add in a lot more information, but you don't want to distract away from the main reason that they're here, and that is to view your proposal. So once we start clicking into this, and again, every time I'm clicking that button, it's being recorded. So as a BD team, as a partner, I can go in and I can look at the analytics for this app to see what was of most important. What did they keep reading? Who did they share it with? Here you can see that the proposal, so ABC Law are looking for acting for Burger Shack in the sale of 30 units, blah, blah, blah. Here's a list of the units that are on looking to be sold. Here's some recent work. Again, we can have some additional information here and the team that's going to be working on it. If you're happy with that and they say, yeah, great, all looks good, you can then have a proposal agreement. We've kept this really simple. Name, email, input in a signature if I want to, and click submit. Obviously you would have pricing, costings, whatever else you wanted to include. If a change came in, I'll show you how to do that in just a moment. But if I was to click submit, it would then, the whole app could then become your onboarding. So for KYC, understanding, getting all of that information, no more do we have to have emails going backwards and forwards in dribs and drabs. This can just be added in. You can upload your money laundering documentation. You can take signatures. You can add in pictures. All of that can be done all within one app. This obviously only becomes accessible once they've signed or agreed to the terms. This can then lead on to become support project management, all sorts of things. So this type of rather than a PDF, which is static, it's static data. It cannot be updated. If a new white paper comes out during the process, it's too late. We've already submitted our proposal. Now we can simply go in and we can go into our edit mode. And if we wanted to add some additional services, there may be, change the proposal agreement. So we've negotiated in a face-to-face meeting or over the phone that we're going to give you a 10% discount. We can just go into here and we can very quickly edit the price. Ask your client to click refresh, their screen refreshes, the update is already there. They can then click agree, submit, whatever. Again, all recorded. So yeah, that's kind of how BD teams are really starting to look at how to digitalize that process. And if they were to build one app and it's their kind of master app, and you can have a different screen for every one of the different services that you offer. And then if I wanted to duplicate this because I've got a new customer coming on board, I would simply go into here and go duplicate the whole app. So this, if that was the master that I had, this is the Burger Shack pitch. I've now made a complete copy of everything that was in the master copy. And now I can click into the Burger Shack pitch and I could go in and say, right, well, this client doesn't actually need to see the services details. So this isn't a corporate client. So I can either simply go into here and delete that screen, or I can just remove it from the menu so that they can no longer get to that particular screen. But it's so quick and easy to reproduce this multiple times and customize it very, very quickly and easily, even from within the app. So a really powerful and simple tool that can be used, as well as obviously being used on their other devices. So if they was looking at this on their tablet, because your clients, again, they're not desk-based now, they could be out on the road, well, I can still view and it still works exactly the same on every device. And I've only had to build it once. So hopefully that's been of interest. Did any questions come in while I've been running through the BD pitch app?
Yes, there have been a few. How long does it typically take a legal firm to launch their first app?
So their first app, I would suggest, well, we actually build the first few apps for our clients. So we use it as an opportunity, not only to train you guys on how to use the technology and best practices and to help you get processes in place internally, but we also want you to get value as soon as possible. So historically, lots of technology has been purchased in the past and it ends up sitting on the shelf and you don't get any value from it. So the way that we work, we run an 8-week program initially with our law firms. The first 4 weeks, we will build you between 3 and 5 apps. And then the second 4 weeks is about iterating, training, and helping you to get them apps launched. So initially, I would say 8 weeks. After that, you can launch them within a couple of weeks. In fact, some apps can be launched within days, depending really on what the app is going to do and how you want it, whether it be web or whether it be on a native Apple device or Android device.
Okay, cool. And what about some other types of apps that are client-facing? There's a lot of examples previously of internal, but what are some client-facing ones that legal firms are using?
Yeah, great question. So, sorry, did you say internal ones or external?
External.
External. Yeah. Okay. So I can share a couple with you that other firms have also produced. A very popular one that's in the app stores right now is crisis response. So there's a number of firms. If you just type in Dawn Wade into the public app stores, you'll find 30, 35 different firms all have solutions for crisis, whether it be Dawn Wade, cyber attack. You can see here, here's just a handful. All of these applications were produced on Fliplet. The Hogan Lovells one is a great example. Again, there isn't a login, so you can go in, download it from the App Store and have a play, see what it is that they're offering. All of them very different. Some are offering custom solutions for their clients and some are offering more general solutions. You've then got different practice areas. We're all looking at building, advice requests. The Deloitte one, for example, is in multiple languages, so you can cover a wider audience. You've got Scadden and political. Each of these three are quite interesting because none of these are aimed at more than around 250 people. So the users aren't massive. This isn't about building the next Candy Crush. This is about building specific solutions for your clients. Don't think about, an app is only successful if you get 10,000 downloads. It's not. If you get one download from a key client and they become more sticky and they, loyal to you because you're giving them the solutions that they need. In Scadden's case, it was actually cheaper to buy Fliplet than it was to produce the printed version of their political law paperwork because it was three-inch binders. So it's cheaper to buy Fliplet than it was to print and distribute these binders to all of their clients. Client portals were obviously big. COVID trackers kind of probably coming to an end a bit more now. But just being able to produce a suite of applications is really the benefit of using a platform like Fliplet or a no-code platform.
And,
any other questions, Lisa?
And just I guess a further extension on this is how are Fliplet clients analyzing the number of users using their apps? What information is available off the back of app use?
Yeah, great question. So we have built-in analytics. So if I was to take one of these applications and publish it, and it's as quick as that. So this will now have its own custom URL. So your clients would click on this. Of course, you can edit it, but you can click on this or you can embed it into your existing website if you want to. But now that app is live, I can now see app analytics. So now you can drill into exactly how many people have looked at this app. You can drill into individual users. So you can, you can identify, because I've sent it to Viv, when Viv logs in, I can see what he's been looking at. So I can see the screen views, the sessions, the time, how many devices, individual users. So if Viv had looked at this, I'd be able to see, oh, Viv is now currently on this page, or he's looked at that page 4 times. He's completed this survey, because how great would that be if not only at the end of the proposal, there was a survey screen that said, Viv, how well did we do? Oh yeah, fantastic. At the end of the actual, the piece of work, the matter, Viv, how did we do? We're constantly asking for feedback and making it easy for them to give us feedback. So yeah, all of that is already built in and available with all of our plans that we offer.
Cool. And then there was just another question for Viv.
Sure.
Which is, Viv, you earlier talked about events and online registration, but do you think that actually it's going to be harder to attract attendees to, now that we're moving to a world of more virtual events rather than face-to-face? And as an extension to that, do you think events may always be different in the future as well now?
Well, firstly, I think, again, it depends on the database, but it has to be sector specific. So the law firm I was talking about were running an event specifically on, say, wills and lasting powers of attorney. So they'd run an event specifically on that subject, and they'd target their database and only invite people who have an interest in that topic. So we could do it with any single topic. So I do think the second part of the question is very relevant. I think we are going to see less and less events. There will be more virtual events. People don't want to travel and spend the time that they used to do, when now we've found we can utilize Teams or Zoom or whatever it might be to take advantage of education and events. So I think it has changed forever. I can see some events companies changing their plans for the future. But yeah, the app will make such a difference, and I think the online events will make such an opportunity for firms to engage with specific parts of their database. But that's all down to having good data and cleansed data, which not all law firms have.
I think as well, we were recently talking to a client who had arranged to have a face-to-face normal event. By changing it to a virtual event, they're now expecting 3 times the number of people to attend because they haven't got to travel. And obviously nowadays it's harder to travel because kids aren't in school, or people just don't want to risk going out. So by putting it virtual, they've had 3 times the registrations that they would normally get. And obviously just shows how you can broaden that, get a wider audience. And as you said, Viv, narrow down. You don't need to do one event that caters for all. You can do smaller events dedicated to specific topics without the outlay, without that, hiring places, catering for it and everything else. Now, if you've got the right technology, a platform like Fliplet that offers an unlimited number of apps, whether you run 1 event or 10, the price is exactly the same. Yeah. So why wouldn't you, drill down and really make them clients feel special, because that event is just for them.
Yeah, totally agree.
Great.
And just the last question, for you both. So a lot of the firms that you've mentioned today are quite large. How does Fliplet accommodate firms who may struggle to access new types of technology and something like apps?
Well, from our point of view, I mean, I did mention we tended to have worked with the larger firms. What we've done now, and the whole purpose of doing this survey, was to understand what it is that smaller firms are really looking for, what's going to give them the biggest return on their investment. And our research will continue ongoing. So if there are managing partners on the call today who have ideas, who want to discuss this, please come and talk to us. We've recently launched our Return to Office app template. That's currently being used by over 30 different law firms to help bring people back to the office. And it's available free on our website by going in and setting up a free account. In August, we're going to be launching our new marketing app, which is designed, taking into consideration what smaller firms are interested in. So being able to have more services, productizing their services for their clients and marketing. And we're always looking to, produce new solutions. So my advice to any of the kind of mid-sized firms out there would be that get your marketing team or your IT team or your innovation team, if you have one, to log on, look at the free account that we offer, get in and start building some stuff, start creating some ideas. There's nothing wrong with failing. If you're going to fail, fail fast, but let's try things. The reason we give that free account is so that people can try it for themselves. But when they're ready to take the next step, get in touch and we'll devise a plan based on specifically what you're looking for.
Certainly from my point of view, when I'm having my conversations with managing partners of law firms all over the country, I will bring into that conversation the necessity of having apps. I think mid-sized law firms have got to take the step and invest in this technology. They'll miss out if they don't. And when we start to see that the challenge practices fail, the people will come to those firms that give the look and feel of a modern law firm prepared to adapt to new techniques and new technology. So I think I will encourage all the clients I work with, of which there are several hundred, about adapting to the app process. I think it's essential to invest the time and possibly the money, although as you've proven, it's not particularly expensive to get the thing up and running. So I think it's an essential tool for all mid-sized law firms who want to grow.
Smashing. Okay, well, it looks like we've come to time. Once again, thank you for joining us today. If there is any additional information that you would like, or you would like a copy of the report from the survey, you can email sales@fliplet.com or feel free to reach out via the website. Viv, once again, thank you ever so much for joining us.
My pleasure.
Everyone, have a great day, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.